Welcome to The Shield, your all-access pass to everything Spartan football. Each week we bring you inside the huddle, behind the stats, and onto the field with the Rochester Mayo Spartans. From game highlights and player spotlights to in-depth interviews and strategic breakdowns, we celebrate the grit, pride, and tradition that defines Spartan football. This isn't just about touchdowns, it's about heart, hustle, and the legacy we defend every Friday night. Strength, pride, purpose. This is The Shield. Hello, Spartan football fans, and welcome to The Shield. I am the host, Rob Cawthorn. I am with head coach Donnie Holcomb, and we got our main man, Matt Bodine, over there behind the camera. This is our first of our weekly episodes where we talk Spartan football and try to bring as much information as we can to you about what's going on with the program. Most of the weeks we're going to have some of the players on. We'll have a leader and some of the other players on the team come and talk to us, but since there's really no game to recap, we are just stuck with the two of us. So hopefully everybody's okay with that, and you get what you get.
It's a good thing it's free.
Yeah, it's and it's a good thing we're here to talk about
free
it.
Broadcast.
So, as always, try to start each show by thanking the sponsor that makes this show possible, and every week we try to get a different show sponsor to highlight a business in our community that has done a ton of work, for the Spartans. And so this week it's another 2-year supporter now, back-to-back years, and just a really, really good friend of mine. It's Brandon Henderson with Construction Plus. I want to thank Brandon for being a sponsor again of the Shield Show this year. And for all your construction needs, please check Brandon out. We're going to have his website listed here. We're going to have his phone number. Reach out to Brandon. He's a great guy. Some of the best work you're going to find here in Rochester. And just give Construction Plus and Brandon Henderson a call for any of your construction needs in the business. But we appreciate it, Brandon, and thanks for being such a huge supporter of Mayo and especially the Spartan football program. All right, Coach. Here we go. The 2025 football season is upon us.
Fast.
And as everything evolves, I've evolved. I've kind of tried to go more technologically based here instead of having a piece of paper to read things off of. So I type things up here on my phone on a nice little Google Sheet. So it's very, very efficient. But so when you look at the off season, so you started – ended last year. You have your meeting with the last meeting with the players. You excuse the seniors. You tell now the junior class, now this is your team, and what are you going to do in the off season? You go from there to your winter lifts. From your winter lifts, you get into your summer workouts and your TD camp. Then with TD camp, you go to Winona. Then you move from there into your fall camp to start off. And then from fall camp, you culminated that this last weekend with doing some scrimmages at Park at Cottage Grove. And now you do all that to lead up to this Thursday for that first game. So talk about that offseason in totality. Where do you think the program has gone? What are you excited about? What kind of work did, all of these boys put in, from incoming 7th graders to now, your current senior class? Talk a little bit about this offseason as a whole.
Yeah, that sounded like a lot going on, and it actually was, because, it's been going on throughout, January until till today. But it also went really fast because the kids bought in and worked hard. And with our summer being a little bit different with construction at the school and heading out to RCTC and coming back and using our turf for part of it, it kind of made it go a little bit quicker too. So it really got here in a hurry. And to think we already got through the scrimmages for the fall, and in 3 days we're going to be playing a football game on a Thursday night. So it's super exciting. But like you said, we had a tremendous off season from our kids, 7th grade to our seniors. And it's really just a tribute to the culture that the kids have built at Mayo High School, and the understanding that they have that nowadays you can't just show up in August and you can play, but if you want to expect to do your best, you're not going to be there. because there's so much that happens in the off season, from the camaraderie, the commitment and the respect that the kids have each other, just for working hard, because everybody can do it if they choose to. And even looking at our 7th and 8th grade, I mean, we're in a really, really good spot with those two groups. I'm excited about them, because between our 7th, 8th, and 9th, if they all stay out, it looks like we could finally have a team where we've got some really big guys, like 6'4", 6'5", multiple of those bodies. And there's a lot of kids in our 7th grade. There's 50-some, almost 60 kids playing football. In our 8th grade, we have good numbers, around 40. Our 9th grade is around 40. So we've got some really neat and great kids that have worked extremely hard. And I'm proud of the ones, like you said, we ended last year and a new group takes over. Like, there wasn't very much transition time. Like, they were just hungry to take over as leaders and get the program going. And every group is getting on board because of the love and just the understanding that the upperclassmen have of where they were and the importance of getting those young kids on board.
Yeah, you hit a couple key points there in our preseason show. We talked a little bit about, some of those big, announcements with the 5A and different kinds of things, and then the lifting at RCTC and all those kinds of things. I do, does give this year a little bit of a unique feel. It gives it a little bit of a, not that this is going to be the only year. It sounds like you guys are going to have to lift at RCTC. It sounds like that's going to be a thing that's going to happen here in for the next few years. But it still, has coming into, a feeling of uniqueness, just because of all those things that, this group, whether, like you said, 7th through 12th, because it even did affect those 7th, 8th, and 9th graders that were working out in the shed where we did our first show. So, every year kind of has its own kind of vibe and its own kind of feel. What is kind of this year feeling like to you so far?
That nothing really phases these kids, because they've dealt with this for the last 2 years of being yanked around and going all the way up and down and here and there, and times change and all that kind of stuff. So they're not worried about having to, work out at RCTC or have something different. They're ready for anything. And I think that's the cool part about this group, is as a group and even a program, I think more than ever, they're like on the same page, which can be a pretty powerful thing in a team sport.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things you shared with me that we were just talking about that happened on Saturday, and I can't remember if you said it was the first time in your coaching career or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
but but just let everybody know. I mean, this was you go up to some scrimmages on Saturday to play at Park. You can let all the fans know what time the kids had to be there, and then what happened because of that.
Yeah, we can't. We have to travel because nobody wants to come down to us and scrimmage. So we went up to Park of Cottage Grove, and at 5:20, 10 minutes before the bus is going to leave, every single athlete is on the bus and ready to go. Like, every one of them. Like, we didn't even miss. There wasn't anybody that didn't show up that wasn't going to come. So, I mean, that just shows kind of the group consistency they have of things that matter to them.
So as we mentioned, you just went up this past Saturday, went to Park Cottage Grove and scrimmaged 3 teams. Scrimmaged Cottage Grove, of course. Then there was Hastings, and then Cambridge Isanti. Yeah. And so unique formats, they're all kind of the same no matter where you go. You're going to get a little time on offense, a little time on defense for your first teams to kind of go head-to-head, and then you get a little bit more time. So talk to, what is it that you guys hope to get out of those kinds of things?
Well, I mean, it's about running your base on offense and defense, because you're not going to really show anything that you might run in the regular season, or even that you'd run against a certain opponent, because we're not prepping for those scrimmage opponents. So it's really, keep it pretty vanilla, and you want to get your first group in and out, tell them how many plays they get, see how they respond to it in a game situation, and then it's about getting other guys in to see how they do in that environment and be able to evaluate them on film. But number one, get everybody through healthy, which that happened. And to be honest, it was a pretty boring scrimmage, which is good. that means there wasn't anything overexciting because we didn't do anything overexciting, and it wasn't bad. The kids did well, and there's definitely a lot that we can learn from.
Yeah. Do you guys as coaches kind of go into that saying, okay, there's either one or two positions we still kind of want to look at and we're still kind of thinking on, or there's one or two kids we kind of want to see how they're doing here and that kind of stuff? And if so, do the kids kind of know that where they're at going into that scrimmage?
Oh, yeah. We talk to them nonstop about competing and the different benchmarks. And this was definitely one of them. And the biggest thing is we want to see how do they compete against somebody else, because the kids all know each other from Mayo. They know how hard they're going to go against each other and what they're going to let each other do. But we want to see what do they do against somebody that, wants to beat them up.
Yeah, I think I was with having a freshman and a senior. I was kind of over at the freshman park for the first couple and only got to see the varsity do the Cambridge Ice Ante. And I think, both teams by that time of the day, you kind of are trying to evaluate, we just got one more, like you said, let's get through it healthy and get out of here. And so you could kind of tell it was that point in time of the morning. But still, both sides seem to be pretty fired up. So like you said, you got out of it healthy. That's the important part. And now we're here, now, like I said, now this is kind of, the next chapter. You kind of close the chapter on, what I consider to be the official off season. And now we're starting, this regular season first week. And got Chaska on the road Thursday, the 28th. It's kind of been a new thing where this first week, a lot of schools are playing on Thursday due to the Labor Day weekend to allow people to still have some time away. But going to Chaska. But what does the preparation look like going into this week, trying to get a team ready for maybe an opponent you don't have 4 or 5 games to review?
I think the biggest thing is before plays and film review, it's to make sure the kids are humble. They don't have big heads. Because like you said, we haven't played them. Haven't even seen them play this year. We haven't seen us play this year. So we got to make sure that we're focusing on the things that we can control with lining up right, executing right, not false starting, holding on to the ball, those little things that can change a game dramatically and have a ton of respect for a great opponent in Chaska.
So with Chaska, once again, don't know, have watched some, bits and pieces, whether it was last year, this year, you've seen rosters, you kind of have a rough idea of who's coming back from their squad last year. Talk a little bit. What have you seen offensively? What have you seen defensively, special teams from the Hawks?
Yeah, I mean, they're a good team, and they're well balanced with talent on both sides of the ball. I think their linebacking crew is probably the strength of their defense. They're very aggressive, it appears on film. And their quarterback is a nice athlete, as well as they've got a big boy on the line. He's got to be 6'5", 340, and he can move. So he's a big guy, a big blocker, and a big tackler for them on defense when he does go both ways. So if their kicker's back, they got a great kicker that puts it in the end zone most of the time on kickoffs. So they have weapons all around.
Yeah, and as we've talked about, only thing that comes out of Chaska is just athletes. So it's going to be a little bit of a sweet homecoming.
Nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah. A few decades ago, that might not have been the case. But, yeah, it's going to be exciting. Now the old high schools, now they're middle schools, so never even really seen too much of this complex. But still, same colors, same everything. So it's going to be a lot of fun to go back to the alma mater, and hopefully the Spartans can come out victorious.
Yeah,
so.
let me interview you and ask you, how is it going to feel when you get your jersey retired in front of all those people?
Yeah, something like that.
And you're wearing Spartan clothes.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. All right, so talk a little bit about the lower levels, Coach. You kind of mentioned some of the numbers for your 7th, 8th, and 9th grade already, JV, that kind of stuff. But what does the schedule look like for them this first week?
Oh, boy, memorization here. So our 7th and 8th grade are going to compete against Winona. It's going to be more of a scrimmage style. It's Winona's first time. They start a little bit later, so we're going to scrimmage them. And then our 9th grade.
And they're coming to Mayo?
They're coming to Mayo. They'll play at the Rochester
the youth fields. Okay.
Yeah. And then our 9th grade Some of the teams from up in the cities, they'll play their ninth grade before the varsity game. So I think for 3 of our games, that's kind of how we're going to do it with Chaska, St. Thomas, and Chanhassen. So the ninth grade will play at Chaska. I believe they start at 4 p.m. before the varsity. And then the next day on Friday, Chaska comes down to us and plays our JV at 1 p.m.
Okay. From what you've seen, is that the structure of every 5A team? A ninth grade, a JV, and a varsity? Or do some of them have a true B squad, like a 10th grade team? Or like when we did the 6A thing the last 2 years, I mean, most of them had 2 ninth grade teams, a 10th grade team, a JV team, and then a varsity team.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it just depends on the program. I mean, they're going to, for most part, everybody's going to have a 9 and then either a 10th or a JV and a varsity. But if you've got good numbers and you can go out and get opponents for it, then you can have these other sub-levels. But for at least within our district, Big Southeast District, I believe it is, we're fielding JV teams.
Okay.
Yep.
And then with that, so once again, just so most people know, and I believe it's still that way, is that the freshmen, like you said, are always going to match the varsity. So if the varsity is at home, your ninth grade team is going to be home, and then JV is always the opposite of varsity.
Correct.
So if varsity is at home, then JV is on the road.
Correct, yep. And those games are all over the place. I mean, some of the JV games are, Thursday. I think we've got one on a Saturday, and same thing with the ninth grade. So they're not set on those dates every time.
Yeah. And that's usually because probably officials, having to make games on different days to make sure we have enough officials. So, all right. So with no players here this week, you are the lucky recipient of getting the 10 questions this week. So once again, as I said, I'm trying to become more efficient in how I do things. So this is what I did. I went on to ChatGPT, which I've been told is kind of the 40-plus AI thing. Like there's a lot of other AI tools, but most people 40-plus, they just use ChatGPT, and so I fit into that category. So I went on to ChatGPT and I typed in, this is what I typed in, 10 fun questions to get to better know a high school football coach. Okay. And this is what they came up with. So you're getting those 10 questions straight from ChatGPT. I did not alter these in any way.
I'm not the average.
You're not average. You're okay. Question number 1. What was your go-to pregame hype song back in your playing days?
Didn't listen to music. Didn't have a phone or
didn't have a Walkman or a Discman or
whatever they were playing in the locker room. So it was probably Guns N' Roses and
something like that. All right. If you weren't coaching football, and once again, now we know you're also a FIAD teacher, so you got it. You can't say FIAD teacher. If you weren't coaching football, what job do you think you'd be doing right now?
I think I'd be working with special needs kids, adults.
Okay. What's the weirdest or funniest thing that's ever happened to you during a game?
I had a player run out on the field to go play with no equipment on.
What? Yeah.
True story.
How does that happen?
It's too long to tell, but it did happen.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm going to have to hear that one sometime. Of all the years I've known you, I don't think you've ever told me that story. I thought by sure I would have known. I thought for sure I was going to know the answer to that question.
I didn't know if it was appropriate to say with the summer.
Well, yeah. Okay, true. Which professional athlete, past or present, would you want on your team for one game?
Barry Sanders.
Great choice. Nice. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? I agree 100%. What's your secret talent that has nothing to do with football?
I have no talent at all.
No, that's not true.
It has nothing to do with football.
I would say it involves a piece of equipment that's in your basement.
Guitar Hero?
No.
That's not talent. That's
Coach Holcomb's I've seen him play. So he's a pretty darn good ping pong player. You pride yourself on being able to take on any challengers and all challengers.
Slightly above average.
Yeah, so I would say you're a pretty decent little ping pong player. If your team this year made a movie, who would play you as the coach?
I don't know, like a miniature-sized rock. or one of those guys that are bald. That's what everybody says.
Yeah. So I wonder if we could put like a skull cap on Tom Cruise or something like that. I've heard he's a little miniature in stature, so a miniature rock. I'm not quite sure who that would be, but that's a good answer. Well, it's kind of like Vin Diesel. I don't think he's very tall, and he's bald.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger though.
We'll go with Vin Diesel. What's one piece of advice you wish you could give to your high school self?
Just try more things.
That's a good
Whether it's sports and not care if you're better than somebody or not better, like just
foods.
Just do it. Foods?
Try different foods.
Sure, try different foods, sports, whatever.
If you could instantly master any sport besides football, what would it be?
Pickleball.
It's a good choice this day and age. All right, last one. What's your most used motivational quote or phrase that your players would say they probably hear way too much?
I mean, I talk about this attitude and effort bracelet, I think, a bunch.
On the bracelets?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ask them. I have no clue.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have to carry it. We'll have to carry that over into.
Maybe I don't motivate them enough. Maybe I'm just negative.
Maybe you have to find some more motivational quotes or whatever. All right. So that does the 10 questions for Coach Holcomb. So once again, I want to thank Brandon Henderson and Construction Plus for being the sponsor of the Shield this week. We can't do what we want to do as far as the technology and some of our home games this year. Not some, all of our home games are going to be live streamed, and we're going to be trying to do some cool sideline reporting kind of things for this year with that. But we can't do those kinds of things without some support of people like Brandon and Construction Plus. So I want to thank him. And also, if you want to sponsor a weekly show here of the Shield, there are many ways to help. One of them being the Forgiving website that we'll put there. And also the boys are doing their Forgiving campaign right now. Why don't you just talk briefly about what that campaign is, Coach?
Yeah, campaign, just an easy donation, QR code or a text that comes out. Free to donate any amount of money that you feel appropriate. And the money goes to different items that we purchased for the team, whether they're Guardian hat, protection covers, or more travel bags, balls, blocking dummies, those type of things, travel uniforms. And we just appreciate everybody's willingness to help the Spartans out.
Awesome. So once again, if you see a player, if you get a text from a player, that's what it's about, asking for some help donating to the program. We'll have the Forgiving link on the screen here, as well as the email addresses where you can email us if you would like to be part of and helping us with our broadcast as well as the Shield show. We would greatly appreciate it. So anything you can do to help. So, Coach, great off season. It's been fun to watch. I got one more coming, but seeing Brody go through this process and having you there the whole time and just watching this group of kids come through and it's exciting and you've done a fantastic job with all of them. I can't thank you enough for that. So good luck this Thursday. Let's go get a W and let's get the season started off on the right foot. So
I second it.
So for myself, Rob Cawthorn, head coach Donnie Holcomb, and our main man Bodie behind the camera, thanks everybody. Week 1 of the Shield is in the books, and we will see everybody after a big win against the Hawks for week 2, moving into our first home game against St. Thomas. Hands out.